Ahoy to this year's TechEd, and welcome to the session about architecturing the future, our strategy about our composable ERP. My name is Stefan Batzdorf. I'm Chief Technology Officer of SAP S/4HANA in development, and today I'm joined by Paul Saunders.
Hi, nice to meet everybody. I'm Paul Saunders. I'm Head of Product Strategy for SAP S/4HANA.
With this, let's have a look at the current agenda for today. So our vision is to optimize and transform the way how we build software, run the software, and deliver values for our customers. And this can be broken down into three areas. First of all, we at SAP S/4HANA, we are keeping the core clean, meaning that we build new innovations and industry differentiators outside the core on the Business Technology Platform. Second, we build end-to-end modular solutions, not single applications and software. And third, we also transform the way how we do cloud-native development and how we architect the future. The SAP's product strategy can be broken down into three layers. At the bottom, we have the Business Technology Platform, which is the integration platform and the technology glue. On top, we run the core applications with SAP S/4HANA as the core of the intelligent enterprise and modular applications like industry cloud or our cloud solutions. And on top, we run business process intelligence and connect to the networks outside. With this, let's hand over to Paul.
Thank you, Stefan. And when you look at how the industry has changed and how SAP has changed along with that, we are going from intelligent enterprises, where we've worked out how we get all of the pieces of the enterprise to work well together, to what we see today, which is this network of enterprises where companies and partners and suppliers and customers are all coming together. And the overall goal of this, obviously, is to get us to a sustainable world, where it's sustainable from our impact to the environment, but also sustainable for our businesses and for us all going forward. When I talk to customers and when I talk to my colleagues and partners over the last 12 months, this word composable has probably been used more than any other word that I can think of. And I joined SAP a little bit over a year ago, and I came from an analyst company, actually the company that came up with this idea of composable business. And many people like to use highbrow, quotes, analogies. I'm a little bit more down to earth, and my favorite one is this one from The Princess Bride. And if you've seen the film, this will resonate. If you haven't, then pause this, go watch it now. Composable, you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. Composable isn't just about technology. It's not just about microservices architectures and so on. What we've got to think about with composable is it's about how we change from where we used to be to where we are now. And then most importantly, how we prepare ourselves for the future. We've all been talking as technologists for a long, long time that the world is changing, that changes are constant, that you can't do business today the way that you used to do. I'm sure you've all heard it, and you're probably, to be honest, a little sick of it. But the reason for composable business is that it takes us building on all of the great work that you've been doing over the last years and decades, partnering with SAP to be able to drive your business forward, enabled, and then taking us to this point where you can shift your strategy so that as the business changes, as the world changes, as opportunities change, you can really respond to those. So what's really important is for everybody to always start with the mindset. It's not about jumping straight in with technology and kind of the whole build it and they will come. They won't. We've got to start thinking differently. As my business changes, how can I adapt to that? How do I as an individual, how do I as an architect, how do I as a developer, how do I as a manager and a leader change to go along with the technology? Then we need to think about, how does my organization change? When we look at the kind of the organization and business architecture, again, this isn't the technology architecture yet. We're not getting there. Stefan's going to talk a lot more in detail about how you go forward with this. but it's about the organizational architecture. As an example, let's say that a business, you have an opportunity for a new product in a new country, and you've worked out that you can drive your production capabilities there, you can get your raw materials there, and so on. If your business doesn't enable you to think differently, to move those resources differently, to be able to break out of these rigid planning cycles so that you can respond to these things, then you've just got some great technology going to waste. And lastly, but certainly not least importantly, is the composable technology itself. One of the things that we often hear is that composable means breaking everything apart. That's absolutely not true. What it means is identifying the things that are differentiating to your business and being able to build those capabilities in a much more flexible kind of way. You can't build things with what you've had in the past. It's interesting when Gartner came up with the term ERP back in the 1990s, I think it was about 3 months later that there was an article saying nobody needs ERP anymore, it's outdated. And that's been the case ever since. If you look at some of the forecast data that Gartner and other analyst companies have got, they're showing this market growing from about $44 billion to about $66 billion. ERP is going to be with us for a long time to come. But it's not yesterday's ERP. It's not 1972's ERP. It's not 1992's ERP. And we can't have the same mindset that made us successful there. So as we've gone from, mainframe and client server all the way through to the intelligent technologies today, you've got to change that mindset. You've got to have that business architecture flexibility. And you've got to be able to build then these connected ecosystems that enable the future to really become realizable and come to life. So with that, Stefan, let me hand it back over to you and take us into a little bit more depth.
Thanks a lot, Paul. So as Paul said, composable ERP and composable architecture is requiring a shift in mindset. And SAP S/4HANA is also not yesterday's ERP. When you implement SAP S/4HANA, don't treat it just like a technology project. It's not an IT project. It's not simply upgrading from R3 ECC towards SAP S/4HANA. You have to involve your business and you have to do certain things different like you did in the past. It's all about, when implementing S/4HANA, it's all about thinking about what are my commodity processes and what are my differentiating processes. Commodity processes are those business processes that you as a company have to do legally wise, and you have to do it, and they don't bring you forward. They are not the basis of your margin, of your profit, of your competitive advantage. These commodity processes, it can be for some companies, HR, hiring, recruiting, it can be simple material production and procurement. But for other companies, for example, a commodity process, like when you look at the bank, it could be procurement, for example. And these commodity processes, you have to, during the implementation of SAP S/4HANA, put them into standard. Use standard best practices and automate as much as possible. Move these processes to a highly standardized cloud environment. You have to do these processes, but you don't generate a revenue. Whereas the differentiating processes, those are the ones that provide you a competitive advantage. For an automotive two-tier supplier, it can be just-in-time production and just-in-time procurement. For a bank, it is, for example, treasury, banking, hedging, funds management, etc. These differentiating processes, here you can put customization and custom coding into the game. And here you also have to bring machine learning and AI and predictive insights, because these bring you forward. These are generating revenue growth. So the move from a highly monolithic, on-premise based, highly customized ERP system towards a cloud and a modular cloud ERP system, it is a journey. It's never a destination. There are few companies that can do a big bang transformation from an on-premise monolith to a highly standardized cloud environment. So several companies, especially large installed base companies, face this as a transition. And in order to support this transition, SAP offers various deployment options and various products. But the heart is S/4HANA Cloud, be it a private cloud environment or a public cloud environment. S/4HANA Cloud provides you the digital core, which should in an ideal case be a stable core with less modifications, less extensible, and on a standard base. And then you implement dedicated line of business solutions or industry cloud third-party apps and business technology apps. And these are modular apps. So the head of sales, for example, has a modular end-to-end business process. For example, he used subscription billing, which is a modular cloud-native app. Then he uses the central order management in S/4HANA Core. And in order to connect, for example, to business networks and to the omni-channel, he uses an SAP Order Management Foundation, which is another cloud-native application. The same for utilities or even for retail customers. So the future is hybrid. It is combined, the end-to-end business process is moduled and combined via clean core ABAP capabilities with modular cloud-native applications. When you implement SAP S/4HANA, you should think about, together with your business, what is my enterprise core? What is my individual core? What are my core processes that provide me a competitive advantage that I want to put on standardized business processes? It can be, for example, managing payrolls. It can be simple procurement of laptops, items, etc. It can be third-party hiring. These core you put on standardized and clean. Keep it clean. Then you have to define what are my business-specific differentiating processes. These can be industry capabilities. This can be for large automotive production companies. It can be the network-aware digital supply chain, which provides me just in time with the right material. As said, here you use modular applications, customizations, custom coding, and to make this process specific. These are the speed of innovation in the blue layer is faster. Here you innovate and consume applications monthly, quarterly, whatever. The core you keep stable and do an upgrade once a year, twice every 2 years. We provide you the modular architecture. We provide you different applications that can be flexibly put together via a central business configuration. In S/4HANA Public Cloud, we provide you end-to-end processes and we bundle these modules together in an on-premise way. You run the core in on-premise and consume the application, for example, cloud native on the Business Technology Platform. And in order for these applications to seamlessly work together, we define the so-called suite qualities. These are integration guidelines and capabilities, like a central master data integration, like a one domain model, so that all applications speak the same language and can communicate, a shared database layer where all the data can be stored, used for analytical, and then also several suite qualities like cross-product analytics, so that you have one dashboard across all those applications. So these suite qualities are the glue that connect these applications together. Let's have a look at these suite qualities, because on the top you see the end-to-end process, like a lead to cash or a source to pay. And even nowadays, they are bundled together via various applications like S/4HANA, Ariba, Fieldglass, and certain business technology platform applications. The suite qualities are a consistent user experience via SAP Fiori. And for example, innovations like the SAP Mobile Start app. It's a mobile applications that gives front-end workers or managers the possibility to access mobile applications and even back-end applications through one client. One workflow inbox, a Fiori application that collects all workflows and all task center managements across the intelligent suite. We also provide end-to-end business process blueprint, and you can use SAP Signavio in order to analyze your configured processes and map these to the to-be best practice reference architecture of SAP. But also several other suite qualities like an integrated lifecycle management. You want to have one single sign-on solution. You want to have one deployment, one role management across all applications, and this is ensured via the suite qualities which are implemented in the Business Technology Platform. So we also do this development at SAP, and we highly recommend it to you. Keep the core clean. At SAP, in SAP S/4HANA, we try to limit the innovations we develop in the core monolith in ABAP. We only do dedicated developments of the core processes in finance and logistics, like a new value chain analysis or new financial accounting dashboards. But industry-specific solutions, like when we redefine the retail and commerce, when we redefine automotive, we build these applications and innovations on the Business Technology Platform in cloud-native fashion. We leverage hyperscaler technologies. Machine learning application, intelligent applications are also built side by side on the Business Technology Platform, and we integrate them via the suite qualities towards the digital core. This is also a recommendation when you transform and transition from a core ERP to SAP S/4HANA. Try to keep your core clean, try to limit your modifications and extensions in the core. Move them side by side to the Business Technology Platform. You have various ways, for example, the BTP ABAP cloud environment, to develop ABAP side-by-side applications, or using Cloud Foundry or even Kubernetes-based runtimes to develop applications. Let's have a look into the future, how the S/4HANA business architecture will evolve from today to roughly about 2028. As of now, in SAP S/4HANA, we deliver the S/4HANA core on-premise and in the cloud. These are the various modules like the finance, FICO, financial accounting, controlling. We have the sales and distribution, the quote to cash. We have procurement applications, but also the big supply chain with the core production, enterprise warehouse management, transportation management. Already now, this is extended by various business cloud-native applications built on the Business Technology Platform. For example, we have an advanced compliance dashboard, advanced financial closing dashboard, excise tax, or even, for example, digital manufacturing cloud and procurement. In addition, we have SAP Analytics dashboards to provide end-to-end product analytics, and we also connect SAP's cloud applications for travel and expense conquer management, for human capital management, success factors, or field glass. And these are also integrated via end-to-end business processes. So the current intelligent enterprise is already modular and between a hybrid core and modular applications. In future, we will build more innovation and more innovative solutions in the blue layer on the Business Technology Platform while keeping the core stable. We will also develop in a second wave more applications on the BTP, cloud native applications that also can replicate and replace ABAP functionality, like the financial closing dashboard, 3 BTP applications that can replace the classical financial close. We build a modular order management foundation, which can replace the classical order management in ABAP. We are building, we are Currently, you have an evaluation of building a new price determination, which can replace the classical pricing in ABAP, etc. So why do we need this? Because especially in the S/4HANA public cloud, the modular, the future is modular, and customers request end-to-end business processes that are flexibly integratable and putting together. And this gives us more integration capabilities and more flexibility on the business process side. And then there is the options for customers in the public cloud to replace classical ABAP applications, to deactivate them via configuration and replace them by BTP applications. In the public cloud, this is done via our configuration. It's done automatically. The end user will not notify these changes. We can also move configuration from ABAP into BTP. On an on-premise or on a private cloud environment, this is optional. So if you move, for example, RISE with SAP to an S/4HANA private cloud environment where you run an own private instance of a public cloud, then you have the option to replace also core capabilities in ABAP via a Business Technology Platform. We are doing this as said in the industry cloud when we redefine certain industry functionalities. So the transformation will be done hybrid based on ABAP core and modular BTP-based applications. Now, last point, how does a composable architecture for big installed based on-premise customers look like with multiple productive systems? And here the same guidelines apply. First of all, we have the platform, the Business Technology Platform, which is the integration glue. It provides services like data analysis, like analytics, like machine learning, but also the suite qualities for integrating the applications. Then you define your foundational plane, what shall be my clean core. This is an example of an major oil and gas company in the US. They defined 3 operational core ERPs for their production and manufacturing and kept the core clean. They moved the extensibility towards on a lower level, side by side on the Business Technology Platform. Then they centralized in the service plane, they centralized across all subsidiaries, finance via central finance, HR recruiting via success factors, and procurement via centralized procurement system. Any kinds of startups, divestitures, third-party move-outs, investments, divestitures are moved to a public cloud environment, and then they connect it to the business networks via the customer network, the commerce network, and the supply chain logistics networks. This gives a flexibility in running business processes according to the clear guidelines. So I hope you enjoyed and could follow our strategy. And as Paul also said in the beginning, currently we run a hybrid landscape with a centralized core and cloud applications, but this will move in an evolutionary phase over the next quarters and years into a highly modular and composable architecture. And as Paul said, composable doesn't mean to break up everything. It is about, the strategy is around keeping a central core clean. This means also keeping finance and logistics bundled together for an integrated material value flow, and then give the line of businesses, the head of procurement, the head of industry strategy, the head of sales and commerce, the flexibility to implement modular applications and innovate on a faster speed while keeping the necessary processes in the core stable and secure, reducing also in the cloud the total cost of ownership, the TCO, and allowing frequent upgrades. Thank you very much for listening. Please find attached our contact information for any kinds of questions, and enjoy the rest of the TechEd.